Good night, sweet dreams. That's what my dad would say to me. But sometimes I had trouble falling asleep. Then he would tell me stories about his travels. I want this tradition to live on. So now, let me share my stories with you. There it is again, that feeling, that longing for a break, that tingling that reaches all the way to the tips of my hair, that whisper drifting in from everywhere. Travel, travel. It begins on a Monday, on my way to work. Over the course of the week it grows louder and louder, until at some point I simply have to give in. Why it comes now isn't hard to guess. In the big city, summer feels like a chokehold. It has people in a headlock. The heat is intense, and not in a pleasant way. Between high rises of concrete, steel, and glass, the air just hangs there. Cars and buses push through it, which doesn't make things any better. The sun burns down on the asphalt so relentlessly that I half expect the tarmac to stick to the soles of my shoes. Kiosks and snack stands selling cold drinks are making a small fortune. I shower every morning before I leave the house, and when I get home in the evening, I shower again. Even so, it's almost unbearable. I have to get out of here. I need to leave again, to travel again, and I already know where I'm going. Midsummer is approaching, and where else would you spend it if not in Sweden? In the far north of Europe, the sun barely dips below the horizon this time of year. If you look out over the sea, you see that deep orange-red disk, only slightly slip beneath the water's edge. It looks as if the sun is just dangling its feet in the water, and there it lingers, bathing Sweden in warm light. People in the northern reaches of Europe have learned from an early age to savor every ray of sunlight. They almost remind me of plants stretching toward the sun with all their strength. Winter comes quickly, too quickly, and it is long and harsh. Better to store up a little sunlight while you can. Midsummer is the longest day of the year, but in Sweden I hear people consistently refer to it as the brightest day of the year. And so, in summer, the Swedes sit facing their never-setting sun having picnics. Some of them have their feet in the water too. Between sun and people, something passes back and forth, like a quiet understanding, and for a while, the whole cosmos feels light and carefree. Sunset and sunrise blur into one another. A picnic dinner turns into breakfast. That's a life I could get used to. I know all this from earlier trips, long extended hiking journeys with a pop-up tent on my back that let me disappear into Sweden for months at a time. I don't have that kind of time now, but that's all right. The flight is booked quickly, and the destination is clear: Stockholm. Sweden's capital is very different from the urban monster I leave behind, or rather beneath me, early on this Friday morning. I glance back for a moment. My journey has finally begun, and that alone softens something inside me. At first glance, it might seem strange to escape a city summer by traveling to another European capital, but in Stockholm, a different wind blows, quite literally. Water covers nearly a third of the city's total area. This floating city stretches across 14 islands in the Baltic Sea. More than 50 bridges connect districts, neighborhoods, and quarters, and yet it feels like there are almost as many boats as cars. The many bridges and the abundance of water have earned Stockholm the nickname Venice of the North. But I don't think Sweden's capital needs that comparison. Stockholm itself means something like Log Island, and the city has more than enough character of its own. I'm celebrating Midsummer in Stockholm because Skansen is here. Skansen is the oldest open-air museum in the world, or at least the second oldest. I come across conflicting information. It opened in 1891, and ever since, time seems to have stood still across its 300,000 square meters. All of Sweden, in its original pre-industrial beauty, is brought together here in a kind of living microcosm. That suits my limited time perfectly. Of course, even the best open-air museum can't replace reality. That much I've learned from my travels. But Skansen can rightfully claim to be one of the best things Sweden has to offer, and Midsummer is surely the best time to visit it. Luckily for me, a high-pressure system has settled over Sweden. The good weather front is actually called Gustav. Who would ever believe that? Gustav is bringing Stockholm perfectly balanced temperatures of 22 degrees over the midsummer weekend, with uninterrupted sunshine. According to the weather app on my phone, the sun sets at 10:06 p.m., only to rise again at 3:33 a.m. After dropping my light luggage in my hotel room, I take a taxi and head straight for Skansen. Even the drive through Stockholm is fascinating. Colorful facades and pointed rooftops seem to sprout from the islands like mushrooms. We cross countless bridges, not a single cloud in sight. I couldn't have chosen a better time for this trip. Skansen lies on the western part of the island of Djurgården, and it's far from the only museum in this part of Stockholm. Along Djurgårdensvägen, cultural institutions line up one after another. In a massive building that looks like a castle in the Nordic Renaissance style of the 17th century sits the Nordiska Museet, Sweden's largest museum of cultural history, founded by the same man as Skansen, Artur Hazelius. A little further along stands one of the strangest buildings I've ever seen, the Vasamuseet. From the center of a modern structure with sharp lines rise the three red wooden masts of an ancient sailing ship. The Vasa was meant to be the largest, most powerful, and most magnificent ship of the Swedish Navy. Unfortunately, it sank almost immediately after setting sail on August 10th, 1628, right there in front of the coast and all the onlookers. More than 300 years later, the Swedes recovered the massive wooden ship, restored it, and simply built a museum around it. Maybe this says something about the particular character of Swedish culture. Or maybe the Swedish spirit reveals itself just as much in the fact that, not far from these grand cultural institutions, a completely different attraction awaits visitors. Aber the museum. Inside, colorful pop art, the extravagant outfits of Agneta, Benny, Björn, and Anni-Frid, along with videos, songs, and countless photographs. On Djurgården, all of this exists side by side, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I love that. I'm already in high spirits when the taxi stops and I arrive at Skansen. Even the entrance to the open-air museum has a quiet kind of impact. Framed by green treetops, you enter through a low building shaped like an open U. A steep black shingle roof sits atop walls glowing in orange and white. In the meadows in front of it, flowers bloom in the same colors. I take a deep breath. It smells like summer. Everything is beautiful. Everything fits together. It becomes clear to me that Skansen is real, but also a carefully composed vision of the best possible version of old Sweden. I step inside and begin a journey through time. I don't even notice my jaw dropping. I'm that enchanted. I'm in the world of Astrid Lindgren and Pippi Longstocking. I know that the more than 150 buildings here aren't replicas. They were transported from all over Sweden. And yet, deep in my gut, I feel like I'm in the very real region of Småland, with the very fictional characters by Lindgren. Just around that corner must be the Katholt farm in Lönneberga. Isn't that the flagpole where Michel hoisted little Ida up? And over there, the shed where he carved his wooden figures. Oh, I'm a child again, wishing I could spend my summer holidays here. It even smells exactly as I always imagined. Sweet from flowers and blossoms, mixed with a faint trace of farm animals and grass. I give myself a small shake. This nostalgia doesn't quite do Skansen justice, I think. For me, it might feel like diving headfirst into the stories of my childhood, but for the Swedes, it's something more. Skansen is a living memory. I walk over cobblestones through a Stockholm neighborhood as it must have looked from the 18th to the mid-20th century. Every house is real. They come from the Söder district, 1 or 2 stories high, almost all made of wood. People once lived in these houses. Their facades are painted red, yellow, blue, or white. There are homes, but also a printing shop, an herbal store, a bakery, a glassworks, a carpentry workshop, and other small trades. Like a sleepwalker, I move through the alleys, paths, and streets of Skansen. I pass a completely red windmill, also made entirely of wood, standing in the middle of a colorful landscape. There's green, of course, trees, bushes, lush meadows, but also a multitude of colors. Flowers grow everywhere. Shrubs are in bloom. Painted wood peeks through branches. I stroll through the garden of the Skogaholm Manor. Gravel paths and green beds set against the backdrop of a stately residence. Everything here feels so alive, so real, that I can't shake the feeling that I've actually traveled through time. Could I really rule out falling through a crack in the space-time continuum? Does it even matter? Would I ever want to leave? Eventually, I find myself in the square where the Midsummer celebrations take place. I didn't plan this. My feet brought me here without realizing it. And I arrive just in time. A group of men in traditional farmers' clothing are raising the maypole. Wrapped in greenery, it stretches high into the sky and becomes the center of the midsummer dances. Now it stands, and from here on there will be dancing and more dancing, and then a little more dancing. Most people wear flower crowns on their heads. I feel slightly out of place without one, but my worry doesn't last long. After a short while, a group in traditional dress approaches me and hands me a wreath which I immediately put on. A Swedish woman, who seems to appear out of nowhere, explains the tradition behind the crowns. 7 flowers are picked from 7 different fields before Midsummer night. At night, they are placed under the pillow, and then, so the legend goes, you dream of the person you will one day marry. At night, they are placed under the pillow, and then, so the legend goes, you dream of the person you will one day marry. Now, crowned with flowers, I throw myself into the crowd. Hour after hour, I spin with the others around the maypole. Not everyone is dressed traditionally. In fact, there are far more visitors in shorts and elegant summer dresses than in old farmer's clothing. Midsummer night in Skansen is packed. Many locals are here, and just as many tourists. There is dancing, laughter, singing, chatting, and of course, drinking. The carefree mood knows no bounds, and the hours blur until I lose all sense of time. The light does its part, creating the feeling of an in-between world. Is it still light, or already light again? I surrender to it all and don't regret my decision to spend Midsummer in Skansen for a single second. It's probably already bright again when a taxi takes me back to my hotel. We cross the same bridges, island to island. Stockholm floats, quiet and golden, and I watch it pass without trying to hold on to any of it. When I finally lie in bed, the night is still moving through me. After everything the day-night has given me, my eyes go soft on their own. The flower crown is somewhere on the nightstand. 7 flowers from 7 fields. And somewhere under my pillow, they are already doing their quiet work. The maypole is still turning, slowly, the way things turn when the night is bright and no one is keeping track of time. The meadows of Skansen stretch out green and soft around it, dotted with blossoms like small bursts of color caught mid-bloom. The cobblestones wind between the painted houses, red, yellow, blue, and white, each one real, each one carried here from somewhere across a country that wanted to remember itself. And in the middle of it all, that blue house with its white trim, standing just where I left it, perfectly still, the way things only stand in memories that have already decided to stay. People in summer clothes, flower crowns on their heads, faces wide open and easy, spinning around the maypole hour after hour, as if the point was never to stop, as if stopping might break the spell, might let the darkness in, might end the longest, brightest day of the year too soon. Is it still light, or already light again? It never really mattered. That was the whole point. I can still feel the wreath on my head, still smell the blossoms, sweet and faint, the way summer smells when it's at its fullest, and you know somewhere beneath the joy that this is the peak, that from here the days will slowly, gently begin to shorten again. But not yet, not tonight. Tonight, the sun only dangles its feet in the water. Tonight, Sweden is still bathed in her warm, amber, inexhaustible light. The memories begin to soften at their edges. The dancing slows. The maypole grows still until it is just a shape against the pale sky, tall and patient, wrapped in green that has gone quiet. The water finds me again, Stockholm's water, always there, breathing softly beneath all those bridges, beneath the whole floating city. My body sinks a little deeper. The flower crown glimmers once, gently, from very far away. And then, just the light, that soft, northern, never quite gone light. Stockholm, dreaming of its islands around me. And gently, quietly, the brightest day of the year releases me into a soft, warm sleep.